West War Room Rivals presents Beyond the Rivalry.
He looks up and he goes, shit, this is for the record. And I remember as I'm taking my steps, like, why would you say that right now?
Here, we go beyond the headlines and beyond the game to bring you authentic conversations.
With the preparation for...
Where's my Jayhawk question at, man? That's what I want to know.
It's coming right here.
Coaches.
There's only one team in the league now that can beat us. Fortunately for us, we're all sitting in this room.
Creators.
The Chargers fan base is really, really cool, really, really welcoming.
And personalities who shape the world of sports.
If they take one message from this book, I would say not to compare yourself with others.
Their stories, their journeys, their perspectives. This is Beyond the Rivalry, presented by West War Room Rivals.
All right, welcome into another episode of West War Room Rivals. I am your host tonight. I am Corey. I have Ethan and Austin with me tonight. Cody out, work obligations, and obviously Matt is hoping to join tonight, but obviously he's still deployed over there, so hopefully we'll get him on here another night. Boys, how are we doing today?
So far, so good.
Perfect. Well, we got a big episode tonight. So first, let's get some sponsorship shout-outs real quick. So we got Angie and her team at Emporia State Federal Credit Union, the War Room's banking of choice. Make sure to go check out their social media page. They got a lot of back-to-school stuff going on right now. So Angie and her team out in the community doing well. And we got Troy and his team over at Field Ops Kansas for all your court and field marking needs. Football season right around the corner, so make sure you guys get a hold of Troy and his team. And we are recording live out of the JBW Solutions studio. So Jeff and his team with JBW Solutions LLC for all your safety and OSHA certifications. Make sure you guys hit up Jeff and his team as well. We got a big episode tonight. Big episode.
That was flawless sponsors read.
Yeah, I mean, we're slowly starting to get used to this whole sponsorship thing. So we do appreciate everybody. So Austin, I'm going to hand the mic over to you, and let's get this party going tonight.
Let's do it. So tonight we have a Longhorn legend, national champion. He was, all Big 12. He was All-American in college, Pro Bowler in the NFL, All-Pro in the NFL. Over 800 career tackles, over 20 career interceptions. So it's none other than Longhorn legend Michael Griffin joining us here in the War Room tonight.
Oh,
hey, how y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing good. About yourself?
We're here. So it's just like one of those things where it's like, did you see DJ on our intro?
I did see DJ. He excited, always excited. I know he was talking about his book. So I know he's been very excited about his book, very educational and very influential with the youth. So I've really been happy with what he's been doing with that book and going around and opening libraries and things like that in the school districts.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we wanted to highlight with him was, the children's book with him and his wife, and then the Defend the Dream Foundation for those inner city libraries that you were talking about. So believe it or not, I think if you've been following the War Room at all, any of the listeners, you might think we're Longhorn fans. This is the third one we've had on.
It is.
Longhorn Nation has been kind to us. We're getting our third one between Quentin Jammer, Derek Johnson, and now Michael Griffin. So, Michael, we appreciate you coming into the War Room tonight. You've accomplished just about, everything a football player kind of dreams about. But tonight we want to kind of go beyond the resume and hear about the stories and then also the man behind it. So we're going to start off with, section one of our questions that we have, Texas, the journey, and then becoming Michael Griffin. So I'm going to let Corey start us off and hope we have a good time tonight.
Cool.
And I do want to say, for as many Longhorns that we've had, we grew up in like an Oklahoma fan, but like our whole family's from Oklahoma. They're OU fans. So this just brings joy to my heart, continuing to have Longhorns like you on. So anything to like say to Oklahoma fans that are probably watching, AKA our mom, who is a huge diehard Oklahoma fan?
Well, it's kind of funny. I was originally committed to Texas A&M. And so they fired R.C. Slocum. So that's what ended up making me go to Texas. I wanted to do something different. So being from the city of Austin and born and raised here, it was just, let me do something different because everybody was like diehard, Longhorn fans. And I don't know if y'all remember, there was a movie called Sir Parker. There was a player that played for Texas A&M. Mm-hmm. He had a movie that came out back when I was a kid, and I watched that movie. and for some reason fell in love with Texas A&M and the Wrecking Crew defense. And so I was very close with Sean Slocum, which was R.C. Slocum's son. He was a DB coach at the time, and I just had a really good relationship with him. So I was literally on my way to Texas A&M, and I always wanted to be a veterinarian. So that was another opportunity for me to kill two birds with one stone. But when they fired R.C. Slocum, it was a change of heart at that moment.
Yeah, so before all the NFL, that obviously national champion for the NFL, the Pro Bowls, like when did you kind of realize that football was going to be, somewhat special for you?
Honestly, I wasn't one of those kids that grew up that was like football, 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 football. I had two parents, military household that was, everything was strict. Like I was working ever since I was 10 years old. I used to referee soccer games, and then by the time I turned 15, I was working at the Target, and then wearing the red shirt with the khakis. And then when I was 18, started working at Finish Line in the mall. And then even when I was in college, I was still working at Finish Line. So I was never I wasn't a kid that was like dreaming and looking forward to playing in the NFL. I was always like being taught to be a hard worker and put your everything in everything you do. So that was like my life growing up. I had a twin brother, and I mean, again, we was just, you name it, we was just working, trying to make money. My parents were teaching us. It's funny because I tell my parents, I'm like, damn, I thought we were broke, and she was like, nah, I just wanted to teach y'all hard work. So, and then when you really think about it, having, Jordans in high school and having name brand clothes, I'm like, I had all of that, but my mom was like making me work, and my dad to like get your lunch money each and every week, throughout the week, and then you learn the budget because you're like, all right, cool. If I was making 12, which was awesome, I mean, making $12 every soccer. So you're the head ref, you're repping the little league soccer games, and you're making $12 a game. You do three of them, you make $36. Now keep in mind, this is back, in the '90s. So it's crazy money, make way above minimum wage. But you're doing that, but then if you say, okay, throughout the week it's $1.25 for lunch to eat the school lunch, and then but it's $1.25 for a slice of pizza. But you look at your money, you're like saying, okay, listen, if I spend, you know, if I spend basically $4 or $4, then by the end of the week, oh cool, by $6, $5 or whatever, I'm get two slices of pizza and a Coke, and you have the best Friday ever. So I'm like, how much money I got left over? So once you ref, for an entire month, every weekend, you're sitting around like, oh man, I've accumulated so much money, $100 a week, a month. And then by the end of the year, you're sitting around with 11 to $1,200, and that's what I was doing, was just making money, like just doing that. So like, it was weird, but by the time I was drafted, I didn't have to ask the agent, could you give me a loan that I have to pay you back? I had over $40,000 in my bank account by the time I was by the time I was drafted. So I wasn't one of those guys that's like, hey, could you give me a loan? Can you give me an advance so I could start buying a car and doing all these different things? I didn't need it because I already had, money that I saved up since I was 10 years old by the time I was 22 years old and I got drafted.
Yeah, that's a good lesson, I think, especially with the money flying around athletics right now.
This NIL, I mean, I probably never even looked at the NFL. If I'd have made as much as them right now, I'm good to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do want to say, obviously, thank you to your parents for their service. Our sponsors are Veteran Owned, Veteran Rand, and our co-host Matt, Broncos fan, unfortunately, but he's currently deployed in the Navy. So definitely want to say thank you to your parents and family for their service.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
I know this isn't the next question, but I feel like it's relevant. Do you have any like budgeting tips for young athletes now? Because when you were coming up, it was a little bit harder because of NIL has kind of changed the whole landscape. But is there any advice you could give to college students?
I mean, I tell people all the time, it's a difference between I want and I need. You know, a lot of
Yep.
times you want everything. I mean, when I was playing, I mean, yeah, well, you want a Lamborghini, you want a Range Rover or a Rolls Royce. You know, you wanted those things. You see it on TV and but in reality, did I need it? No. I mean, I'll tell you, I played 10 years in the National Football League, bought one car, but I was driving dealer cars because people was willing to, give you a Yukon, a GMC Yukon, let you drive it for free. And it's marketing for them. But, right now, I mean, the Yukon is about $80,000 vehicle, but I drove a Yukon and I drove a Chevy Camaro when I was playing for the Titans for 9 years. I never bought a car. I was just driving a dealer car. It was no point to go buy a bunch of cars for what you gonna drive it to the grocery. I mean, you drive it to a game. You got what, 8 home games? Cool. You parking in the players' parking lot. People see you get out of it. Take 3 or 4 pictures. Then what?
Then assists.
And then the next question is, I gotta go grocery shopping. You gonna drive a Rolls Royce or something to the grocery store? Like where you gonna park? You're gonna park it the furthest way possible because you don't want nobody to hit it. If somebody does hit it, more than likely their insurance can't cover it. So now you out of pocket. Your deductible and everything. I mean, it's just there's a difference between I want and I need. I totally understand, treat yourself and everything, but at the same time, I just never got into materialistic things because I just always realized that it wasn't anything that I need. It doesn't do nothing for me, if that makes sense.
No, that makes total sense. But I want to ask, and I know it's not the script. What was the first car you bought after retirement? So you didn't want to bring the Rolls Royce out.
First car I bought after retirement, weird story. I didn't even buy a car. I traded a car in and got me a Cybertruck.
See?
That's all I did was just trade a car in. That's how, like, literally. I was driving a 2-door Explorer, the same 2-door Explorer I bought in 2003. My mom promised me if I had a scholarship, she'll buy me a new car. So she bought me and my brother 2-door Explorers. They don't even make those no more. But it's just funny that, like, in the off season when I used to come back home, I was driving around in a 2-door Explorer with cloth seats or whatever. Like, I didn't care. Like,
Yeah.
it didn't do nothing for it. Like, literally, it didn't care. And so I literally had a 2-door Explorer, and it was perfectly, like, it was perfect. Like, I bought a 2-door Maserati in 2008, one of the dumbest purchases, but I literally just sold it. I literally bought it in 2008. I literally just sold it last year. I was still driving it.
Regretted the purchase and still had it last.
Hey, as long as you keep washing it, you keep it clean, everybody think it's one of the new ones. They don't know no
Yeah.
difference. So
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
that was just the way I operated. And then literally, I when the market was down 2008, I pretty much bought a whole street of rental properties and literally just collect mailbox money.
Hmm.
Oh, that's awesome. Congratulations. I got to assume they're doing really well. Still
Oh,
today,
they
for most of them.
they doing awesome. Like
Uh,
awesome. So
Nice. Great investment. I'm jealous of all the people who talk about doing 2008 when they bought tens of thousands of dollars of Apple stock. And it's
man.
they're just sitting on gold mines, or the people who bought Tesla in 2012.
Tesla, if you bought into the AI companies and
Yep.
just little things that just good marketing advice and getting network with people and things in that nature. It was just, but the biggest thing was for me was back in '08. It was just, the market was down like crazy and you was able to get, I mean, the homes now appreciated probably 4 or 5 times worth. And then if you know the Austin area, you know how hard it is to live in Travis County. So a lot of people just can't even afford. So a lot of people, what they do is they're built so much. People, if they want to live in the Austin area, they got to rent. And so they just can, and a good school district and everything else. So it just continues to thrive and just do it. And then my tenants, one just moved out and she lived there for like 12 years. There's another tenant that's probably been there for about 15 years. And I'm like, do y'all plan on leaving? They're like, nope.
All right, cool.
All right. Now I know I derailed us a little bit, but now I'll get on to the real question. So growing up in Texas, And so you eventually got the opportunity to represent the University of Texas. What did that mean for you as a college student, and what does it mean for you now?
It's like I think I would say now is so different now than what it is for the current kids, because with the transfer portal, NIL, kids are just bouncing all over the places and not really finding a home. But, you had Derek Johnson, you had, Quentin Jammeron, Quentin Jammer's brother, Quandre Diggs. We're like an all close knit group. That's like a fraternity. So just going to the University of Texas, it seems like everything worked out perfectly. The fact of the whole networking, the brotherhood that we all have, our families. I mean, just high school alone, we have about 4 or 5 of my ex teammates, and all our kids go to school together, and they all became really good friends and everything else. Grew up together. While we were in the National Football League. Hang out over the off season, but now they're older and we're all retired. All our kids are now, um, going to school together. Quentin Jammer, his son, I coach a travel 7-on-7 football team. His son played with us last year. His youngest son, with his first wife, played with us. Who's now committed to Duke. But again, I mean, you just see that network of how we all interact with each other and each other's kids and things. And so it's just a brotherhood of just going to University of Texas, being from Austin, the recognition that you get, and also the pluses. We won a national championship, and you know, um, it's been 20 years since that had happened. So it's kind of like we have that effect of that team that won back in the 70s, I believe it was, that Mack Brown used to always tell us about. And like they was like, the icons and the idols of the city. But now we became that when we won a national title, and when you're out and about, the respect that you get. It just has it's a blessing to just live in the city of Austin, and just to have that aura around you when you're just around the city.
Yeah, not to foreshadow what's going to be coming up, but we're definitely going to talk about one of the greatest college football games. One of the, if not the greatest college football game that ever took place. So that's coming up soon. But I heard you mention Mack Brown, and as a football fan, that name means something. If you're a real football fan, so he coached some unbelievable personalities and talents while at Texas. What did Coach Brown understand about players, or how did he connect with players that, maybe players outside the locker room or fans maybe never got to see?
I think he was just one of those coaches that were he was a player's coach. And what I meant by that is he did everything he could to make sure that you were comfortable, you had everything that you needed. Um, a lot of he gets a lot of credit, but I don't think his wife, Miss Sally Brown, gets enough credit on what she brought to the table too, as like a second mother that was there at the University of Texas, that I mean was always there making sure we were all okay, just checking in on us. And even as we're adults and we have kids, still on social media, she's always reaching out and checking on everybody and making sure everybody's great. But that's what Mac did. He did a fantastic job of just taking care of his players. And if there was anything that you needed, even to this day, he's still right there for you. Even when he went to North Carolina, even when he was done with the University of Texas, even when we were playing in the National Football League, he was always checking in, and just making sure we're okay. And if we need anything, he's always telling us just reach out. And so I think he did a great job of just making sure that everybody felt like they had a place on the team. Everybody felt that they were a part of the team, and just made sure that everybody, his most important thing was he was going to make sure that he developed and was able to help raise great young men for society. So that's the one thing that he always guaranteed, and that's the one thing that he stuck by was, whether you play in a National Football League or not, you're going to be great fathers, great husbands, and just great men.
Yeah, so as we dive into this 2005 national championship game. I remember this one rather well, and I'm sure you do as well. So obviously that Texas team is remembered as one of the greatest teams of that era. So when you're actually inside that locker room, when did you guys realize that there was, this was going to be a special team?
The year before, we lost to OU, and I think we lost to OU. Of course, your mom is happy about that. But it was Adrian Peterson's freshman year. We lost 12-0. I mean, we did everything we could to win that ball game, but we didn't allow a touchdown. But they had 4 field goals, and we lost that game. And we literally was that close to playing a national title. Ended up playing Michigan that year. We won that game. And then when Vince yelled out in the stadium, "We'll be back," it's kind of funny, but it's kind of iconic. It's an iconic moment of, it's like almost deja vu, because if you go back to that Michigan game where he scored that last touchdown, and then you go back to the national title game where he scored that last touchdown, it's like the exact same spot and everything's exactly the same. So, and then him holding the trophy and everything just seemed like it just happened all over again, like literally like deja vu. But I mean, we had our first test earlier in the season. We had to go play Ohio State in the shoe, and the night game. And I mean, I just remember going into that game. You're like, we're really about to play Troy Smith. They had Dante Whitner, Ashton Yobooty. They had Ted Ginn, Gonzalez, who was a first round receiver. The other receiver went to Pittsburgh that had the heck of a catch in the Super Bowl. Well, I can't think.
Santonio Holmes.
Santonio Holmes.
Yeah.
AJ Hawk, Bobby Carpenter. Again, that's what I'm saying. We're literally talking about it, but you think about the national title game. But I mean, literally, this was the same setup style of game that you go into. And I mean, they even had the coach. I believe he was there, or maybe he came the year after. But I believe they had the coach, what's his name, Freeman, from Notre Dame. I mean, he was there, and he was a fantastic player. So you think about it. I mean, they were stacked. I mean, that's a team that was like representing the Big Ten for a long period of time as, the top team when it came to the team up north. So going into that environment, playing night game, it's loud, it's all red, it's just crazy. But we end up pulling out that win. And then from there, we're like, okay, we got a chance. But we always knew that our biggest downfall, and I joke with DJ all the time about the reason why y'all didn't beat OU, because I was never playing. And it was funny because we finally beat OU after he left. And he was like, dang, I ain't never beat OU. And I'm like, I'm sorry to hear that. But when I was on the team, I don't count that I was losing OU the first 2 years because I wasn't playing. So we always joke about it. But we finally got through OU. And then because we had to play Red Bomar, that was that year where, he was the number 1 quarterback and all the craziness. But we finally got through that. And then we were just like a smooth oil machine, just kept. Oklahoma State was always that one team that we just somehow, some reason, just always wanted to toy around and act like we couldn't get through that game. And then we had a really tough one versus A&M at A&M, but we finally got over that hump at A&M. And from there, we went to LA, and I just remember Vince losing the high. We thought for sure he was going to win the Heisman, but Reggie Bush got it. We ended up playing that game, and it was crazy from start to finish. It was crazy. And crazy story, it was my birthday, so that makes it even more crazy. So
there it is.
Every year when it's the reunion of that national title game, it's my birthday. So people are like, do you remember that game was? I'm like, yeah, because it's my birthday. Like, I know exactly what day it is. So, but yeah, it's a fantastic game, and a lot of great players in that game that ended up playing a long time in the National Football League.
Well, I guess that leads to my next question, because you might remember it for your birthday. But, I mean, everyone remembers Vince Young's 4th and 5 against USC. I'm a Southern California kid, so I grew up in Southern California in San Diego. So this is one of the biggest moments because it was like when USC was at its like perennial power, which now it feels like a teetering seesaw all the time. But can you take us back onto the field for that final drive? As you're standing on the sideline and watching the offense, what were the things going through your head?
Well, funny story. I got hurt in that game. The play where Dwayne Jarrett scores, I broke my teammate's forearm, Terrell Brown, and I basically herniated a disc in my neck. So we both got basically. He broke his forearm. My neck was all jacked up. So my twin brother ended up going in the game for me. So they made that fourth down stop. But I just remember like having an ice pack on my neck. Can't really look, but I'm like, I didn't watch the play. Literally, I didn't watch it because I was just like, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be a crazy play no matter what. So um I just remember like the crowd going, which it seemed like we was at a home field because it seems like all our UT fans bought every ticket. So, but it was maybe the loudest environment that I've ever heard. And if you've been at the Rose Bowl, it's open. It fits 100,000 kids, but it's wide open. And the only stadium I ever heard just as loud is probably Seattle Seahawks playing there. But it was crazy just to just see him and the cannon go off and everything else. And then you just knew like, all right, we got one last play. We got to kick the ball off. And I'm like, Reggie Bush is back there. And we all know anything can happen. So, but again, it was just hearing all that and then going back and watching the replay. Like I said, it was like deja vu watching the Michigan game of just like witnessing greatness of just something that's like again, like it's surreal to like just be there to see that environment. And when you say, has there ever been any college football game that was like that? I just really can't think of one that was just that intense and that. I mean, it was a battle of the unbeatens. You got to think about it. We ain't lost a game since OU the year before, and they didn't lose a game for like 30 something straight. So if you think it collectively, I think it was almost. I may be wrong, but it might have been between both teams close to 50 games of a winning streak between both teams, over 50. So that just lets you know the seasons that both teams went through not losing a game. So it's that I don't know if any teams. I know the Alabamas had some great football teams, and I know Clemson had a great football team, and I know there was some great games when it comes to a lot of great players is playing in the National Football League. I know Joe Burrow had, his phenomenal season when it comes to LSU. Um, and I would say that a game that was very, but did not mean the same meaning as that game might go back to that year where LSU won the national title when they played Texas, and it was 50 something to 50 something and over 1,000 yards of offense, and there was no defense. And the debate was who was the real DBU, and obviously neither team was. I mean, and that's just I was there. It was a heck of a game, heck of a game. It just was the battle of no defense, but it was just amazing to see how, Sam Ellinger and Joe Burrow, and just to see Devin Duvernay, who's still playing in the National Football League right now, and watching, a young Justin Jefferson and those guys battle it out. But again, there was no defense out there. There's no plays from a 4th-and-1 stop, from a interception, from recovered fumble. There, I mean, literally, you had 3 Heisman candidates playing in one game, and 2 were Heisman winners, and there was 2 Thorpe Award winners. Like,
So-
that was all in that national football game, that one game alone.
So I want to keep this similar to the question, but it's like when you're watching film, getting ready for this game, you see Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart, Reggie's speed and what he's, very versatile and dynamic. What's going through, like you're watching film, does the film match up to what you were actually seeing on the field?
Reggie was Reggie was unbelievable, but I think somebody else that doesn't get the
Lindell
credit that he
White.
deserves. Lindell White. He doesn't
Yeah.
get the credit that he deserves. He was. If you really go back and watch that game, and you go back and watch what we faced all season, we never faced a running back. We faced the Adrian Peterson that had the speed, not as athletic when you look at what Reggie Bush can do out the backfield with the ball in his hand. But you got to think we had a guy by the name of Ramon Taylor that was pretty much like a Percy Harvin, that was pretty much like a Reggie Bush that could do a lot of things. Um, but I think Lindell White does not get the credit that he deserves. That was the one thing that we were not prepared for, in my opinion. We were not prepared. We weren't built. We were built for speed. We weren't built for a power back. And if you watch that game, Lindell White, I think, was roughly around 240, 245. And he was having his way with us because I might have been the biggest defensive back. And at the time, I was probably around 190, 195. But you have a 240-pound, running back. Our linebackers at the time, I think we had Bobino, we had Aaron Harris, probably about 225. Bobino was probably about 220. Andrew Kelson was probably about 210, 215. Robert Killebrew, who subbed in and out, was probably about 210, too. You talking about that massive offensive line. We had a big defensive line, but when you got to our second level, we were undersized when it came to trying to stop Lindell White.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I know you said you got injured in that game. Did you have an interception that game, or did that happen before?
I had the interception early in the game.
That was early. Okay.
Yeah, they ran a sluggo seam. He threw to Steve Smith. Actually, if you watch the tape, I went to the tight end. I went to Jerry's Bird. I went to Bird on the seam, and Matt Liner floated, and I was able to get to the ball and then end up making the interception.
Yeah, you had that toe tap. For some reason, I thought that was later in the game. That's why I was like, okay.
It was real early in the game. Even if you go back to like the turnover, was Aaron Ross, who had a phenomenal year the following year, won the Thorpe Award. He muffed the punt early in the game, which gave them another opportunity. You think about, we missed a couple of field goals in that game, which could have made that game go a little different. If Matt Liner, if they score that touchdown, we're down going into half. I mean, there's so many different momentum swings when it comes to that game. Everything was riding high for us, and then that second half, we slowed down. Reggie Bush finally got, like I said, we found out how fast he really was. Got around the corner and did his flip into the end zone. But when you just talk about all the things of what could have happened, and again, you go back to both plays. The 4th and 1, if they get that, game is over. And if Vince gets stopped, game is over. Like, there was so many, like, that was a game that you literally on your feet the entire game of like what's about to happen, because anything could have happened. Anybody could have won, and both teams could have shook hands and be like, we respect one another, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's amazing. But as we've kind of given away now, you guys obviously walked off as the national champions. And after, in my opinion, one of the greatest college football games I've at least ever witnessed. So what's a moment from that night, whether it was during the game, celebrating or something, that maybe TV didn't capture and only you guys who were playing it and living it would know?
Man, that night. I think, you know what? It's funny because I just found out about it. And I gotta go back and look at it. Brian Arakpo said, I guess one of our defensive ends came out the game and the coach got mad at him because Rack like had his helmet like chilling on the bench because he's like, bro, I'm a redshirt freshman. I ain't about to play. Like, this game is like serious. And he said coach got on him because so one of the defensive ends came out the game and he was the back. He had to go in. And Rack literally and again, that's another player that was in that game that had a heck of a football career, won every defensive award that you can win. And he's waiting his turn. But he said coach got mad at him. I still got to go back and look and see what play it was. But he was like, man, I'm in there. My helmet ain't strapped. I don't even know if I even got the right helmet. But just the intensity of the game and not knowing when your opportunity is being called, you know. My brother, I have a twin brother who was actually a walk-on at the time. I got hurt. It's like, hey, you're up. Like, you gotta go in. The fourth down stop, he was in the game. So people don't know, there was people that had to play might not realize that they had to get in that game, but end up getting the opportunity to play in that game and really got to see what it was like being in that game of you're really here. Like, everybody's watching right now. Like, the game was on the West Coast. It's a night game. So you could tell if you're on the East Coast, you're probably up to about 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning trying to stay up to see what's going to happen at the end of that game.
Yeah, so let's move on to rivalries. So obviously our show's based on rivalries and West War Room rivals. And of course it'd be, mistakenly, wild if we didn't ask about Texas, Oklahoma. So walk us through Oklahoma week, Red River rivalry. Everyone knows about it at the Cotton Bowl. Was the hatred real?
It's crazy because it's I think it's a little different now because back then it was the whole Texas team was all from Texas. And maybe one or two, I know Casey Stutter was from Colorado. We might have had one or two other players that was from out of state, but everybody else was from Texas. So you kind of grew up understanding what that rivalry was all about. I remember my first time, I didn't know how real it was. I'm like, yo, they just a bunch of Texas people too, And then when you get there and you go play them, you realize it's the best players in the state of Texas that didn't come to Texas went to OU or they went to Texas A&M. So it was like a rivalry game more because you were playing against the other players that were the top players that was in Texas that you might have played against in high school. And a lot of times they were players that may have been your teammates in high school that just chose to go elsewhere than where you were going. So it was, I think, in my opinion, the fan base makes it that more exciting because half and half is each team. But the other part of it is that when you're out there on the field and you play, y'all still know each other. Like, it was crazy just to see you across you. Like, everybody over there you knew. You played against them in high school. One guy, Paul Thompson, was a quarterback at Leander High School. We played against each other every year. And then now you're the quarterback at OU. I'm at Texas. Like, we're in a rivalry against each other because it's OU versus Texas. And then we get to Tennessee. We play for the Titans. Now we teammates again. It's like, yeah, we don't really hate each other as much as we thought. So that's really how it was. But it's just the bragging rights of just knowing you get the gold hat and just be able to say you won that. I mean, it's really his bragging rights. And at the time, the Big 12, you had the North and the South. So we pretty much knew whoever won that game was going to represent the South in the Big 12 championship game. So it was just a game that you knew you had to win to be able to play for the Big 12 championship. And if you was able to play for the Big 12 championship, you got to go to a BCS game and hopefully playing for a national championship.
That makes total sense. So moving on, when we're talking about college and football, you had to tackle a lot of offensive players. Is there one that stands out in your head of always this is the toughest dude to bring down? That's just going to make my day very long and not very fun.
College, I would have to go with, one, I played against Lindell White once, so that's what I mean. that was something that you didn't know, but I would say there was two. I would say you had Adrian Peterson and you had Javorsky Lane, who played for the A&M. Those two running backs, I would say, was you knew you had to play them every year. You just knew they were on the schedule.
J Train, I remember him. Yeah.
So Javorsky Lane was that thing. He was 270.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 270-pound running back at college is just ridiculous, and realize he can and he could run. So that was the thing. It wasn't like, but then the other guy I would say was in practice we had Cedric Benson, so it pretty much prepared you to go to battle when it came to playing against these other teams.
Yeah, we like asking the former secondary players who have been on here kind of, their thoughts, because you played when it was physical. Like, you were able to, it wasn't as strict and tight in what they do. So do you think today's rules have kind of taken something away from playing defensive football?
I think it's crazy because, I mean, everything changes. The whole game has changed a lot. And so it helps, in my opinion, teach the right techniques. And the good thing is they're teaching it at a younger age. I think when I was in the National Football League and they started changing all these rules, it was like all the old heads had to adapt. And it was just trying to figure out how to do it, how to change something. It's like trying to teach an old dog new tricks. So that was the biggest thing, the hardest adjustment on, the way the coaches used to coach you, the way you played the game, the people that played the game before you, what you were taught. And then you realize, like, the game plan of the offensive side was, hey, you know what? Just throw it across the middle, because that defender has to make a quick decision. And now we got that defender thinking. And if he hits you, head neck area, especially in college, he's ejected. If he hits you in the pros, we get the yardage, automatic first down. It turns into another offensive play. It turns into an advantage. So it's the offensive players, but it's also crazy when you play in the National Football League, when you have an offensive player tell you, just hit me in the head, don't hit me low, because I'll pay your fine. So then it kind of, it's just again, it's just trying to find a happy medium. But at the end of the day, they're teaching people the right way to play the game the way now. So it helps out tremendously, especially with the fact that it's being taught from a very young age, to allow the players of the future to know how to play the game the right way.
Yeah, no, and I agree. We had former Bengals legend receiver, Carl Pickens, and we were asking him how we think he would fare against today. You don't quite see the physical jams or presses at corner anymore. And he's like, you would get mauled, when I played. He's like, I think I would just feast in today without having to, get hands on me. So we always kind of like to get that point of view.
And I'm with you. I think now, especially when you look at, you think about, and like when you say the game has changed, I say it like this: back in the day, if you wasn't 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", 215, 220-pound receiver, you wasn't getting drafted in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
But now I take the receiver that's 5'11", 190 pounds, that can run a 4.3 or whatever, because you can't touch him after 5 yards. So it helps that receiver.
Yeah.
And so now you say, well, if I can't touch you, I get bigger corners, 6'3", 6'4", longer, lankier, to allow to say, if I can't touch you, at least I force the quarterback to throw the ball higher, or, I got a bigger defensive player to try to, okay, I got to find a way to get that smaller receiver the ball. So, but then also you look at the way the game is ran now. The running back, the bigger backs can't lead with the crown of their helmet within the tackle box. But back in the day, you had bigger backs that can run between the tackles.
Yeah.
But now you got, the Bijan, you have the Gibbs, you have the Alvin Kamara's, you have the Christian McCaffreys. And then what ends up happening is the bigger safeties that you had back in the day that were 220 or whatever, you move them down to linebackers, and now your linebackers is, it's okay to be 6 foot, 6'1", 220-pound linebacker, because I'm tackling 200-pound running backs or 195-pound running backs. So the game has just changed a quarterback back in the day, you want him 6'4", 6'5". It's okay to be Kyler Murray size 5, 9, 5'10". It's okay to be a shorter guy. So the game has just changed all around, and but again, it's just the evolution of the game. I mean, you look at basketball, it's the same. The traditional center that was a big body guy, get it down low, the power forward. Now you got guys, you watch the Spurs, they 7'6" dribbling the ball down, taking 3-pointers from half court. You like, this game has changed tremendously. So
Yeah.
it's just the evolution. I mean, it's just changed. That's just how the world is. Everything is just a change. So you just got to be able to keep up with the change.
Yeah, and leading kind of right into our next one, we're going to kind of have change, but we're going to plant you in today's game. So we're just going to say you're lining up as safety, and you see Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson lining up. Which modern quarterback do you think would give you, I don't want to say the biggest headache because we know you'd lock in, but which one do you think might give you the biggest headache, and how would you try to defend them?
Biggest headache will probably have to be, if you ask me, like Josh. That's the thing. These quarterbacks are still a lot of the past too. Josh Allen to me is just an Andrew Luck, if you ask me.
Okay.
Big physical guy that can run it when he has to, can do a lot of things with his feet, but still had a great arm, and very physical and can win ball games. I mean, that's just what he reminds me of, is an Andrew Luck. That's what Andrew Luck did for the Colts. And I think when he decided to retire, I think it set the Colts franchise back. But when he was playing, it wasn't pretty. Patrick Mahomes, I'm trying to think who he reminds me a lot of. He has a little bit of trying to think who he reminds me of back in the day they used to play. I can't really think right now. But I mean, he has a strong arm. He throws a lot of things. I mean, to me, okay, you know what? Patrick Mahomes somewhat reminds me of a young Aaron Rodgers. If you remember Aaron Rodgers back in the day, Aaron Rodgers can make every throw off the back of his foot, make these no-throw passes, would run. He would run, he would slide. He used to do all those things. Now that he got older, now that he's not the same mobile quarterback, gets the ball out a lot quicker. But Aaron Rodgers, young Aaron Rodgers, used to do a lot of the things that Patrick Mahomes does now. The running, look at you, stare at you, don't know if he's going to take off running, throws it at the last minute, flicks his wrist. If you really want, like back with, again, Aaron Rodgers went on year 25 or something crazy.
Feels like it.
I've been retired going on 10 years, and he was in the league before I was in the league. So he's 20 something,
Yeah.
But that was Aaron Rodgers back in the day. Like, he used to do those things. You just realize, hey, when Aaron Rodgers gets out the pocket, everybody go find a receiver, because his receivers knew, just go get open. Because Aaron Rodgers, you remember, he gets out the pocket and he does that. He used to do that. He just backpedals towards the sideline and he just keeps looking at the field the whole time. And he make chunk it deep, throw it back across the field, throw a no-looker, or run. He used to do that all the time. You go back and watch him with old school with the Packers when he had Jordy Nelson and Cobb and all them. Watch that film and you'd be like, oh, this looks very similar to what somebody else used to do, what somebody does to this day. And go back and watch Andrew Luck. It used to be the same thing. Would take off running, 6'4", 6'5" quarterback, very physical runner, and watch Josh Allen. Very similar, in my opinion. That's just my opinion, but very similar on the things that they do. So when you say, but the ones that give you is the ones that give you is the ones that know where the ball go, and I still to this day, the Tom Brady and the Peyton Manning and the Drew Brees.
Yep.
Them three right there. Aaron Rod, the young Aaron Rodgers, them boys in the league of their own. Like,
Yep.
it's It don't matter how much time is left on that clock. Just know, ball game is not over till it clicks 0.
Yeah, the cerebral quarterbacks, and I do, for Ethan's sake, Philip Rivers. We know your guy is cerebral, and he's good too.
Oh,
Ethan.
work now. Philip Rivers, that is the quarterback that you would dream to play for because you knew he's gonna he he got that Tim Tebow like feel to him of like just a dog. Like he's like the dog that you just can't put out his misery because he just gonna keep coming. Like the man played for like 20 years and didn't miss a game. Like
Yeah.
so you just knew that old sidearm thing he does. You couldn't him and that Antonio Gates connection that they had with a Damian Thomason. Again, I don't think you can repeat that. I mean, that was just something special. Like again, there was just things that were just very special that it's just one of those things. I mean, even watching, you know, people talk about how Drew Brees wasn't the tallest quarterback, but man, when that man dropped back and he used to throw them perfect fades, them perfect balls down there in the Astrodome, it was just you knew it was a track meet. You just get ready. It's a track meet, and he's about to have a game. You got to figure out a way to slow that man down.
Yeah, and
Hell yeah, Ethan, you got something?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask. So you and Philip Rivers were contemporaries for the majority of your career. You guys played 7 games against each other. What was your reaction when he came back last year after being retired for 4 years and like playing actual NFL snaps?
The exact thing you seen, the dog that you just can't put out his misery. Just you just can't put. Like we talk about age, right? And you like mentally think you can still do it. He's one of them guys that like he think he can do it, and he still can go out there and just he gonna figure a way to get it done. And I was impressed. I was really literally I was really impressed on him just being able to go out there and do what he did because again, 4 years removed, how much the game has changed,
Yeah.
and to be able to go out there and do what you did, my hat's off to him because trust me, I only got one down in me. It better be 4th and 1 on the goal line. That's all I got.
Yeah, and I give a Michael Griffin shout out. I did make a highlight video where you had a PBU guarding Antonio Gates. So, that connection could be stopped.
Trust me. That the way Gates, and congratulations, I think he made the Hall of Fame. But
Yeah.
the way he used to run his routes and the way he was a big body tight end that it was just the way. I mean, he was a basketball player, but the way he used to do his and one moves, I'm gonna act like I'm gonna come back. It was, and again, him and Rivers has had that connection of just like it was just like again one of those games that you go into and you just like you got Antonio Gates today. You're just like, dang, I don't have to cover nothing deep, but it doesn't matter if he's gonna run short routes or not. It just didn't matter because he just understood how to control his body and how to get open.
Yeah, I love that. So conversations are going great. We're going to kind of skip to the end, though, get you out of here at a decent time. There is one question we want to ask before we get to our rapid fire, kind of end with a little fun, quick answer ones. But our last question we like to ask our guests and former players, someday people will, tell your story without you sitting in the room or without you knowing about it. So what do you hope they say about Michael Griffin? Not just the football player, but the man.
If you ask my wife, she's gonna say I'm an asshole.
That tracks.
My kids too. They gonna say the same thing. But I think the one thing you can always say is that I gave it my all. You ask my teammates or whatever, they'll tell you like I think I went. I was at one point. I only missed 2 games my whole career, and it didn't matter what. In both games, one was suspension for repeat offender, and the other one was because I had a torn quad. and I did everything I could to play the game. And the coach was like, "You're not playing. Like, I'm not letting you play the message." And he was like, "I don't even understand why you want to go get surgery." But tore my labrum twice, did not miss a game. Tore my quad, sprained my MCL grade 2. I literally shaved my leg and just wrapped it up, to stay on the field. My last year had a herniated disc in my back, and all I did was just take shots. Like it was just anybody ever tell you, like I'm kind of like that. Like I said about Phillip Rivers, is like you was gonna have to put me out to keep me off the field, and whatever they asked me to do. I mean, I remember year 10 playing in Carolina. You know, I was out there covering kickoffs, like running full speed to the ball, and then my first few years, I was a gunner on punt team. I was returning kickoffs. I was starting on defense. I was on punt return, and I was on starting kickoff, and I was not a safety. I was going straight to the ball, and that's back when they had the wedges. So I was one of the wedge busters. Like I was just a team player that just, didn't get all the accolades and everything or whatever, but I just played because I just loved the game. And the one thing I always said was that one day you just cannot look myself in the mirror and say that I give it my all. And that was the biggest thing for me, was just make sure I didn't leave nothing, like didn't save nothing. Make sure I left everything. And when I walked away from the game, I just knew it was time. Like it was just time. I just knew I had nothing else left.
Yeah, I love that. And I don't want to age you or myself or anyone, but I quote unquote, that's why I like the older school a little more. Not necessarily playing through injuries or everything. We don't recommend that these days. But what you've described yourself and Phillip Rivers, with that dog in you, those are the players that I kind of gravitate to. Hence you, Derek Johnson, not necessarily all the accolades, but they were leaving it all out on the field. So I appreciate you answering that. I know we got a couple. That's in our quick ones.
Yeah. So I want to use this first quick for our rapid fire one real quick. This is from Brandon. He asked you about top 3 favorite safeties to watch currently in the game.
The new kid right now in Seattle, I love him. He was a rookie last year from out of South Carolina. I don't know how to say his name.
Eamon Worry.
Yes, I
My
love
guy.
him. I
Yeah.
love his game. I would also have to go with, my replacement in Tennessee, who's still doing his thing, Kevin Byard.
Doesn't age, I tell you.
He was able to do a lot of things that I could not do, and I still don't know how he does it. And then number 3 would have to be Petrie. I love Jalen Petrie from the Texans. I love him. And then of course, I gotta go with what's the name from Chargers.
Derwin
James.
Derwin James. Derwin James, I like him. And I like Hamilton too from what you call it, from the Ravens.
Baltimore. Man, there's a lot of good safeties out there today.
There's a lot of good safeties, but I would have to go with those old head. I got to go with Kevin Byard because he's the old guy now. The young guy that I think is going to be very, very special is the young man from Seattle, and then Derwin James he's just a freak of nature. Can do a lot of things. Petrie, I loved him watching his game when he played for Baylor. I knew he was going to be something special. But like those guys, I think they're doing a fantastic job. And I'm trying to think if I missed anybody. Buda Baker. I love his game too. I love Buda
Kind of
Baker.
gets lost in Arizona a little bit for sure.
I love Buda Baker. I mean, again, sometimes you got guys that go to some type of organizations, but if he was in another organization, I feel like that, he's getting a lot of respect in everything that he's doing. But if he was a guy that was playing for like a Pittsburgh Steelers or a guy that was playing for like the Cowboys or one of those organizations like that, man, there'd be like he would just get a lot more recognition. I think he would be up there with the Derwin James and those guys. But again, there's a lot of great players that's out there right now that's playing this good. They're playing this game right now that I like their game a lot. So, but those would be no. They said three, but I will go with those guys right now.
You got to give your safety position some love. We get it. We get it.
No.
All right, Ethan will be number 2.
Oh, mine is who's the hardest hitter you've played with or against? So it could be an offensive or defensive player.
Hardest hitter I played with, Bernard Pollard. Bernard Pollard would probably be the hardest hitter. I mean, of course, you've seen it.
Yeah, he took out Tom Brady.
But again, I got to give my dog Ryan Clark. I mean, I literally seen him just like, RC has ended a lot of, but the hardest hitting tandem got to be Deshaun Golson and Dante Whitner when they was playing with the 49ers. That might have been the hardest hitting defense when you got Bowman and you had Patrick Willis and all the boys.
Yeah.
That defense right there is the reason why they was able to get to the Super Bowl. I mean, that game alone when they played the Baltimore Ravens, that was just a survival. Who was going to survive that game? So,
yeah, I forgot about that tandem in San Fran. Yeah, those are good days. So, next question: most underrated player you either ever faced or maybe played with? Maybe there's a teammate you felt kind of underrated, under the radar. So either played with or against.
Most underrated player, I would say. Most underrated player, I think, would have to be, in my opinion, most underrated player would probably have to be, give me Fred Taylor or Steven Jackson. Two great running backs that unfortunately played with, some teams that weren't, weren't the record did not allow them to showcase and play on primetime games and things of that nature to really showcase who they really were. But phenomenal top tier running backs. I mean, Steven Jackson was a guy that used to get 1,000 yards every year and you didn't even know because he was playing with the St. Louis Rams at the time. And then Fred Taylor, again, things that he could do in the way he played the game and his career and everything else coming out of Florida and playing for the Jacksonville Jaguars. It just unfortunately he just wasn't, he just didn't play. He just didn't, get to really showcase his skills. I think that goes to like a guy like Budda Baker who didn't get just not playing, a team that's don't know who the starting quarterback gonna be, a new head coach every year. Sometimes you just fall and play on those organizations, and the organization appreciate everything you do, but unfortunately, just overall, you're just not, just don't get the recognition that you deserve. Teammate wise, I would say I got to get a shout out my dog. I think Jason McCourty, who's doing a lot of big things with ESPN. We joke about it all the time because he was, I think, a 6th round draft pick, and his brother comes out the very next year and has the exact same numbers in the combine as the 1st round draft pick. And again, when you talk about organizations, unfortunately, we weren't a really good football team at the time in Tennessee, and so. He left, and thank God he got to, play with his brother and win the Super Bowl ring. It just sucks to have a twin brother that, has a lot more rings than you got, and he got the same ring you got plus more. But again, just organization wise, and he just you know. But I think when I say underrated, was a phenomenal defensive back that was able to play this game for a long time. And I think he just didn't get recognized like his brother was recognized when he was playing for the Patriots. So I got to say that he was probably one of those underrated players that didn't get the recognition that he really deserved.
Absolutely. Ethan?
Yeah. My question is, who do you think is the best Texas player you've seen?
University of Texas player?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Besides
Best,
yourself.
best player I've ever seen. Damn, you about to have
Oh, yeah. We're about to get you in the doghouse.
Best. All right, I'm gonna go back defensive wise. I gotta go DJ, Derek Johnson, and then okay, that's this. Okay, I'm gonna say I've seen. So I'm saying I see
Yeah.
because of course Brian Arakpo had a phenomenal career at Texas, but I wasn't there when all that happened. If that makes sense.
That clears you. Yeah.
That makes sense. So this is why it excludes me. So when I was there, right, I got to go with the best defensive player. I got to go with Derek Johnson, of course. And then I also got to go with Nathan Vasher, who that doesn't get the recognition, underrated, that doesn't get the recognition that he deserves. I mean, I think he had 16 career interceptions at the University of Texas, played strong safety, free safety, in play corner. So I would have to give him and Derek Johnson the best. Offensive wise, I would have to go that I seen. I gotta go with earlier in my career. I gotta go with Roy Williams and Cedric Benson. And by the time I was done, I gotta go with Vince Young. That I seen.
All right, this is a little bit ago. Did you and Jamal Charles ever cross over? Or was he a little after?
He was there. He was a freshman and he played his sophomore year. But again, when I was there, Cedric Benson was the starter. And then when Cedric Benson left, it was a three-man show. National championship year, it was Ramon Taylor, Selvin Young, and Selvin Young, and a freshman Jamal Charles. Then my senior year, it was Jamal Charles and Selvin Young. So again, I didn't see the following year that he played when he was the man by himself. I seen him do a lot of great things, but at the same time, there was a lot of great things that again, I had Vince Young over there doing a lot of great things. So the comparison is the national, the Rose Bowl, two-time Rose Bowl winner, Vince Young, with the freshman Jamal Charles. So I'm watching greatness, and then it's like I leave, then Jamal comes and he does what he do. Because also when I left, you got to think about after I left, Brian Arakpo became the man on the defense, and then you got to look at Earl Thomas, and you got to look at Aaron Williams and Quandre Diggs and Kenny Vaccaro, and you got to look at Lamar Houston and Henry Melton, and all these guys hit their peak after I left. Even Jermichael Finley, Colt McCoy, Jordan Shipley, Quan Cosby, all those guys hit their peaks. I was already gone. So I didn't see it. I know about it. I heard about it. I mean, I even watched Bijan play when I was working for Longhorn Network, but I didn't physically. I watched Xavier Worthy play, but me physically see it when I was there, or when I was there playing, there was other guys that were playing at the time that these were the guys that were the guys.
I think the crazy part of all of this was, Jamal and Arakpo just, having to ride the bench and earn their time. I think that shows how dominant Texas was, right?
I mean, again, that's just how college football was back in the day. You got to a school. If you got to a school and you played right away, you know what? You must have been a really good player.
Yeah.
But if you got to a school and you redshirt and you waited your time, more than likely you had a really good football team.
Yep.
And so at the time, Texas was a 10-win team each and every year. When I got there, starting secondary was Michael Huff, Dakari Pearson, Nathan Vasher, and Cedric Griffin. And then Philip Giger was the nickel. And then they had me, it was me, Aaron Ross, and Terrell Brown were the only three freshmen that were playing, but we were the backups.
Right.
So we were blowing, and when we blew a team, when we were up by 40 and 30 points in the fourth quarter, hey, y'all three can go in. And so by game 7, Dakari Pearson tore his labrum. He was out for the season. Philip Giger moved to safety. I was the only one that knew nickel. So I started playing a lot more as a true freshman because I was the starting nickel. So for my first 2 years, I would just play nickel. I never played safety unless we were up by a lot of points. Then I moved back to safety. And then by the year we won national title, that was my first year ever playing safety. I played nickel all the way until then.
Not bad. Playing true safety 1 year, then going 17th in the draft. Not bad. We're going to transition this to one final quick rapid fire question for you. And finally, Texas is winning the national championship again. When?
When they do.
There we go. Yeah. Not this year?
You know what? This is the thing. I just, we all know a lot on paper.
Yeah.
They on paper, they supposed to win it. The thing is again, it's, do you stay healthy?
There's
and you stay,
gauntlets in the SEC too.
it's a gauntlet. I mean, it's game 2 is Ohio State. We know they lost a lot of players, but again, they got Jeremiah Smith. They just added Chris Henry Jr. And they, for some reason, always have somebody that's just over there that you don't know who they are. Like, you just don't know. And then they're a team that, I don't know if I don't know. I don't really hear about it because we hear more about Texas, but I don't know if they're really a team that jumps in the transfer portal to go get players. I don't know. Or if they got guys that are waiting their turn to play. So then you gotta go to LSU. I don't think that's an easy game, in my opinion, even though they got Lane Kiffin and it's a new team and everything else. You gotta go to Missouri. You don't know what to expect. You gotta play Kentucky, and they got a new head coach. And you still gotta play Ole Miss, and they just had a wonderful season last year. And then you still gotta go to UT, and they always have. It's just you got a gauntlet to play, and I felt like, again, and you still gotta say, okay, the team alone, you got to be ready to play each and every week, and that's just the thing. It's just, you can't really predict the future. You just got to hope and pray that everything just goes right. But it's hard. I mean, every team that wins the national title, I mean, just think about it. We haven't seen a team win the national title back to back, and a team that might have won it probably didn't even get close the very next year of trying to win it. So it's just hard. I think with this NIL era, I think with this transfer portal, the fact that you can go buy you a whole new team each and every year, I think it just makes it that much harder to win a national title. And that's where you got the teams that, I mean, Miami came close, and we were like, I mean, Carson Beck left Georgia, and we was like, oh, he went to his grave. And all of a sudden, he was playing in a national title game.
Yep.
And now he's looking like he might be the starter for the Cardinals. I mean, I'm just saying, we thought he went to his grave, and
Yep.
things changed. So again, you just don't know. And then we saw a team a couple of years ago, like Florida State, who was riding high, and then their quarterback gets hurt, and now all of a sudden it's a completely different football team. So
Yeah.
I just say you really just don't know when it comes to who's going to win it. And then you still got to look at, you still got Oregon, you still got, I love the coach at Indiana, you still got Ohio State, you still got to see what Miami's going to do this year. You still got to look, he can't count Georgia out.
No.
And then and then you always got some wild card that, like a Texas Tech was last year. You got some wild card that's just floating around somewhere. Notre Dame, I think, is returning the most starters.
Yep.
And they always have a really good football team. Yes, they lost 2 running backs, but the coach does a phenomenal job at recruiting all former NFL player kids. And I don't know if they just ready to play right away, but I know you got Thomas Davis' son there, and I know you got Jermichael Finley's son there. I know you have Jerome Bettis' son there. You got Larry Fitzgerald's son there. I mean, I'm just saying, you just can't count teams out. So I don't know. It's if you ask me this question, October, maybe early November, we got a better opportunity, like who has a good chance, because that's normally the team that gets hot and gets going. But you got a gauntlet, and it's always going to be the battle of. It's the battle of the depth, in my opinion. That's just the way how football operates. It's the battle of who has the most depth.
Yep. And Mom, if you're still watching, I want you to know he went through the gauntlet and never once mentioned Oklahoma.
Hell yeah.
That's how we feel about Oklahoma around here. Hook 'em.
I'm still not that game. That game is just. It's the other, to me, it's the teams you don't know.
Yeah.
That's the teams. The ones you don't know is the teams that always seems to give anybody a problem. I mean, if you even think about it, National Football League, you always knew who was going to win in the division. It was outside the division you didn't know. It's when, I haven't played, the Vikings, and I got to play the Packers, and you got to play Chicago players, you got to play Detroit, you got to play the NFC North. You just didn't know those teams. You didn't have a lot of film on them. You didn't study them. You didn't know it's not a lot of film. And so it was always playing those teams was always the who's going to win that ball game, because you just wasn't familiar with them.
Yeah, love that. Ethan, Corey, any follow-ups on that? Ethan, did we get any more in the comments outside of my mom and all of our Oklahoma comments that I'm sure is flowing in?
No, you're good. I just want to thank you for coming on. I was saving this for the end. I used to play with the Titans all the time in Madden because I loved playing with Vince Young, and then I would always user you on defense because.
So you basically tell me how old I am. Thank you.
Sorry, but
aged him.
I like how you did that. Because you know how long ago it's been since I was on a Madden game. If anybody's listening, they're like, he ain't on this one. He ain't on this. Which one was it? Which year was it?
We got to go get that Michael Vick 05 on the cover.
You got to go get you got to go get the PS2 to play with me.
Would it be bad if I told you I did play on the PS2 or that?
It ain't bad. I'm just telling you. I just basically
what do you mean bad?
It's not bad. It's the truth.
Yeah.
Nintendo 64.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for coming on and taking the time to talk to us. Really appreciate it. I
appreciate y'all. Thank y'all.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. And this is, Beyond the Rivalry presented by West Warren Rivals. It gives us different colors to wear on game day, but in the end, it's the people and stories behind the game that are bigger than the rivalry. You're someone who's lived it, you've played it. We can sit here and talk football all we want as fans, but hearing stories and insight from someone who's lived it and played it, we're always grateful for it, always appreciate it, and you sharing your time with us. Just want to say a big thank you for sharing your time.
Appreciate y'all. Thank y'all very much.
Yeah, we'll get you back on here at some point this season and break down some more games, and
especially that Cam Ward boy.
Yeah, get your thoughts on the Titans and maybe what you're seeing from some of their defensive players, new coach and whatnot. So we do appreciate you coming on. I would thank you again.
Oh, thank y'all very much.
Yep. Take care.
You too.
Perfect. Hey, again, I'm always, it's always fun getting, former players on here. It's, getting their stories. And again, we knew obviously that national championship game. I was almost graduated, I think, high school. So, but I do remember that game. I've obviously have a lot of friends who are Texas fans too. So being able to hear that. Ethan, what was your biggest takeaway tonight?
Biggest takeaway is I was thinking about it midway through stream. One of my new coworkers is a massive Titans fan. And I was telling him about how we were having Michael on the show. He was like, "Oh, you need to give him a shout out for me," and completely forgot about it until right now. So messed that up, but it's all good.
That's all right. Yeah, I love just hearing the stories and perspectives, right? And when some of these players drop the names that they were playing with, it kind of takes you back to a good old time, right? Like he started naming that Ohio State-Texas matchup, and you were just like, damn, these teams are kind of loaded. And then they just kept going and going and going. Like, I don't know, it takes you back to kind of like nostalgia a little bit, right? Like, that was my youth. Like, not trying to, again, call Michael Griffin old as you did with your Madden, but
I didn't mean to. I was trying to be like, yeah, I did. But I thought it was because it seemed like I was being young. He was just saying it's been a long time since he's been in Madden.
Yeah.
Which I guess makes sense. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I haven't played Madden probably since like Madden 16 is probably the last time I played the game, like realistically.
I mean, it's gone downhill for a while now. So long night tonight, boys. I really do. Again, thank you to Michael for coming on here and giving his story and talking Texas. And I was a little disappointed he didn't put Oklahoma down a little bit more, but we can't win them all. But speaking of nostalgia, and the least nostalgic draft that I had last week, is we're going to continue that tomorrow as the second half of the War Room's AFC West draft. This is rounds 12 through 22.
Yeah, so we're gonna fill out the roster. I decided to add a wrinkle into the end. I'm gonna add coaches to it, so you guys can start thinking about.
Tune in tomorrow for the wrinkle, but you got it tonight.
Yeah, well, still tune in.
You don't
tomorrow.
know what coach. It could. I could have us be taking special teams coordinators.
Hey,
you don't know. There we go. Those matter too.
Those matter too. So again, thank you to everyone who tuned in tonight. Make sure if you're new here, subscribe to that channel. If you're watching on X or Facebook, make sure you hit the follow button and then come subscribe to the YouTube channel. Again, thank you to Angie and her team at Emporia State Federal Credit Union, the War Room's banking of choice. Troy and his team over at Field Op Kansas for all your court and field marking needs. Give Troy and his team a call. And we are recording live out of the JBW Solutions studio tonight. We'll be back in the JBW Solutions studio tomorrow. So again, thank you to Jeff. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in. Thank you to everyone in the comments tonight. Guys, let's get ready for that draft tomorrow night, and we'll see you guys at 8:30 Central.